Good evening and welcome to episode 6 of The Pivot. My name is TJ Owens. I am the program manager and facility director at the African American Culture and Heritage Facility. And welcome to The Pivot, where we hold a conversational space where we have an opportunity to hold inclusion, equity, and perspective at the forefront of these conversations. And tonight, I'm excited, y'all. I'm excited about this conversation. I have one of my esteemed colleagues, for someone that I've had the fortune of reporting to directly, even though I don't currently, but it's been a great pleasure over my career with economic development, being underneath her stewardship. Our interim economic development director, Sylnovia Holt-Raab. So welcome, Sylnovia.
Thank you. Good evening, TJ. Glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
For sure. Before we get started, I made a mistake real quick. I want to thank the City of Austin and Economic Development for powering this podcast first and foremost. Also, I want to acknowledge the Cultural Arts Division and, of course, the team and staff at the African American Culture and Heritage Facility. So, sorry about that, Sylnovia. I just got a little bit ahead of myself, you know.
Okay. I'm glad we're giving them their due because they are great.
For sure. Most definitely. As we get started, I really wanted this conversation to be one where folks can just kind of get to know you. I know that you get so many emails from so many different people inside of the government world, in the community advocacy world, and just within economic development. I think some people really don't have the best grasp of everything that we do. Right. And I've been in economic development for, over 12 years now. So being able to see each division grow and kind of hit their own stride and do some very innovative things. And also wanted a chance just to give folks a chance to get to know you and talk about just kind of where you come from. And let's just start there. Just talk about, just where you come from and really what brought you to the city of Austin.
Well, I come from the big metropolis of Quincy, Florida. That is right. I'm not from Tallahassee. I'm from Quincy, which is a thriving metropolis west of the capital in Florida. So yes, Southern girl, is very close to Southern Georgia. And so we always get that little tidbit. Well, you're really a Georgian. Well, you could say that. So that's where I'm from.
Right. Awesome. And growing up there in North Florida and in Quincy, what were some of the things that really inspired you? I know people don't, when they think about that, like you said, in that area, you don't think about hustle and bustle and metropolis and large city living. So what were either some of the things or some of the people that really inspired you to just be excellent?
I would definitely say my parents, Charleston and Inez Holt, they pressed for excellence in everything, whether it was through community service, whether it was through education. They always said too much that is given, much is required. And so I had a great upbringing. We knew everybody in town. Just a good life growing up. Agricultural base, I would say. So farming was heavy in the area. If you see beefsteak tomatoes in the local grocery store, they probably come from my area. And so
Awesome.
Again, heavy agricultural and state employment too. Mm-hmm.
Well, I know you mentioned your parents and how they really, instilled, excellence in you and wanting you to be excellent in all areas of your life. And I know just from our past conversations, one thing that is very important to you is education. Mm-hmm. So if you don't mind, just share with us just kind of your opinions on education, how much you value education. I know a little bit about it personally because, we've talked offline, but just share with everyone just the regard in which you hold education.
Well, both my parents were teachers. My mom taught math for more than 40 years. My dad was a physical ed coach before he went into the administrative side. So when he retired as a principal, but they grew up in the segregated South. And so they thought education was the great equalizer. So going to college was not an option. You had to do your work, look for those other opportunities that you could to expand. My parents both went to Bethune-Cookman College, now Bethune-Cookman University. My mom actually worked for Miss McLeod Bethune. And so, again, it was just that great equalizer to be better. My mom always talks about how she had to walk 5 miles to the main road to catch the
Yeah.
bus, and even using hand-me-down books, how she made it to
Right.
college. And, I just want you to be better than where we were. And so, again, it was just stress for my brother and myself. Again, it was just not an option. And I'm glad about it. Back when you in it, you're like, why do I have to study all the time? Why do I
Right.
have to, do this and that? But I'm glad that they instilled that and stressed that in me. So I give it all to them. And of course, other people, they hung out with educators. And so Miss Williams and even my cousin Leola, who's a math teacher. And so again, education definitely runs strong in my family. Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's so important, especially the time frame that you were talking about. There was a transition of a shift that was going on from, a heavy agricultural based economy in the South,
Mhm.
and having to make sure that our education was on par to be able to compete with those folks that were, in the North, in the Northeast specifically, who kind of had
Mhm.
a generation ahead as far as being, people of color that were able to attend colleges and universities. So I definitely understand exactly where you're coming from, and
Mhm.
thank you for providing that perspective. And then one thing you did mention was Bethune-Cookman College, which of course is now the university.
Right.
And I know that you also attended an historically Black college and university, Florida A&M University. If you don't
It's
mind, like,
the
tell us about like
really
what you value about
yeah,
attending FAMU. I'm sorry.
yes, it's the Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. Yes, we have
I
to say it.
apologize. Yes, you're absolutely correct. That is the full name, right? We want to give it its just due as well. So
Uh,
talk about your attending there, and just kind of what you felt that you learned, and maybe some of the things that you didn't expect, those life lessons that kind of came your way that you didn't expect by attending an historical Black college and university, just from your traditional, learning up through high school.
mhm. Well, I would have to say that honestly, I didn't look anywhere else. I always wanted to attend an HBCU. So
Wow.
it was either going to be Bethune, it was either going to be FAMU, as we call it, or Alabama State, because my brother attended Alabama State. And
Okay.
so, leaving even from Quincy to Tallahassee, you get on campus and you just meet all these wonderful people from all across the world that descend on your university. And it was just a great experience. It was a family. And so I wasn't a
Right.
number. They knew me by my name, especially one of my professors, Ossie Phil Anderson. Oh my God, he taught math, but he was a poet too, and he could recite. And so he not only instilled in us the mathematical fundamentals, but also poetry. But when I entered into FAMU, I attended the School of Business and Industry. And
Okay.
so at the time, I was like, okay, accounting, yeah, I'm going to go and do that. But the dean of my school at the time, Sybil Mobley, she recognized that even though we were part of a historical Black college, we needed to be prepared for the real world. So as
Right.
part of my education, internships were mandatory. I
Okay.
mean, we had to actually complete 3, which I did. I actually did 4, but she was a visionary ahead of her time. So not only was I in that nurturing environment, but she saw the vision to prepare you to go out into the real world. We had to do forums where we hosted CEOs from major corporations. We interacted with them at receptions. We even had professional development, and that was in 1985. And so
Wow.
again, just a wonderful experience. You had to wear your suits, briefcase. Again, being at the university in that nurturing environment, among teachers that cared, knew your name, helped you to succeed. It was just a wonderful experience, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time at FAMU. Got my undergraduate and my graduate degree from there, and so yeah, it was just a great experience. And I go back now for homecoming, of course, and friends from '85 I still have now, and so again, wonderful college life, of course, pledge Delta Sigma Theta, the Beta Alpha chapter. And so again, just had a great experience.
No, I mean, I totally agree. And also, I appreciate you advocating for historical Black colleges and university. Myself attending the Prairie View A&M University and a second generation Prairie View A&M student. I do, it was a great thing for me to be able to see just the instruction change, right? Being in a traditional learning environment, growing up here in Austin, where, I'd never had a teacher of color, until I reached college. And that changed everything because I knew that being a professor or being a teacher was a real tangible profession for me, right? And taking instruction from someone who looks like you, that can take things like math and then bring in other alternative forms of communication like poetry that you were just speaking to. Those are the things that stick with you a lifetime, right?
Exactly. And for me, I grew up in a predominantly African-American community. So, and I do hear that kids from Austin that may not have had an African-American teacher, but then get that experience on a college tour. It's just nothing like seeing someone that looks like you in a classroom. It can change your life.
Most definitely. And I think also the culture, right? Like you were saying, the culture, we were just like you. When I was at Prairie View, you were up in the morning, you were ironing your pants, you were ironing your shirt. If it was a rainy day, you had your umbrella. If there was any young ladies that were walking to class, you made sure she didn't get wet. Their doors were being held open. All those things that, you do, or you should do, or you hope that you're going to do, coming from a school, historical Black college in a university setting, just that care for one another, that family, right? I totally understand where you're coming from with that. And a lot of friends that you develop, no matter when you go through one of those historical Black colleges and universities, campuses, you maintain those friendships and that network for the rest of your life. So I totally agree with everything you just mentioned.
Yeah, for the rest of your life.
Yes, for the rest of your life.
Yes.
So I know we talked about your journey so far, kind of going through college, but there's kind of this piece of you coming to Austin from Florida. So speak to that a little bit and kind of what made you go from, Florida to Texas. That's a huge change culturally on so many different levels,
Oh my goodness, yes. So at the time, I was the finance director for my hometown, Quincy, and just was looking for a change. And at the time, several of my friends were putting their resume on monster.com. And I was just like, what is this monster.com? So at the time, I was again looking for something different, a transition. I did it. Ended up getting an interview with Texas State Affordable Housing Corporation, which was a arm of Texas State Affordable Housing Corp. Anyway, all the acronyms. And so I flew out to Austin, total shock. So I land at the airport, the old airport, which is now Development Miller. And I get off the plane and I said, what did I just come to? Because it was the same size as Tallahassee's airport. Because the only thing I knew about Austin at the time was Austin city limits. So, the big skyline and the musicians. And so it was an interview to do mortgage banking. Okay. And so I go and I do this interview and, I had heavy grant accounting background, which is something they liked. And so did the interview and they actually offered me the job the same day. I was like, wow. I said, I don't know anybody out here. I got to go home and think about this. I just don't know if I could make this move. They said, okay, well, you'll be here the weekend. We're going to send a relocator over to meet with you. I said, wait. Yeah. So met with the relocator.
They were serious about getting you on the team. Yes.
And I said, okay. So I met with the relocator and I talked with her, but I went back home and I said, I need some time to think about it. So I thought about it, talked it over with my parents and a mentor at the time. And they were like, well, just go for it. I'm like, moving there? I don't know a soul. And so I took the plunge in 98. Oh, wow, been here a while. I moved here sight unseen, back then, and I'm going to date myself, it was the fax and it was the dial-up AOL,
Oh, yeah.
So we did everything by facts. I mean, I literally
Yeah.
measured my couch. So I said, what's the scale? And I moved into my apartment sight unseen. And so that's how I got here. And I stayed with that company about 2 years and then started with the city of Austin. But again, I moved here sight unseen. It was total cultural shock. My
Yeah.
parents were like, I don't know if we should leave you. And I said, okay, well, we'll make this deal. I said, 3 years, you can come back and pick me up. But I'm going to give it a try. And my supervisor at the time, he said, every time you go home, because I think I moved here in September and then I went home in November. He says, every time you go home, I'm afraid you may not come back. I said, me too. Me too.
Wow.
But
Wow.
it was total cultural shock. It was just
Right.
like, I moved here in an apartment, didn't know a soul. Um, Honestly, didn't see anyone who looked like me during the
Right.
week
Yeah.
except on the weekend. And so it was just total uncharted territory, but I'm glad I did.
For sure.
Um, and just have made the best of it. And yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit. There's this big phenomenon in Austin now called Black Flight, right? We talked about this where
Oh,
folks
yeah.
come to Austin, especially people of color, and they
Mhm.
automatically find that they want to leave, right? Like they try to
Mhm.
figure out ways that they can leave, or they feel disconnected from the
Mhm.
city.
Mhm.
And I know that that's one of the things that is at the forefront of a lot of communities of color, but specifically, Black people is,
Mhm.
we feel as if we don't belong or can't connect, or
Right.
you feel even more isolated because you don't see anyone who looks like you. And let's be clear, we're talking pre-pandemic times where you're
Right.
not just working from home, right? So
Right.
how did you find ways to connect with the city of Austin?
I will tell you, my church saved me and my sorority saved me. And I used the old fashioned method. When I moved here in 98, they actually had phone books they left for you at your
Yeah.
apartment. So I was raised African American Episcopal church in the AME church. And so I said, I'm just going to start down the list. And so I'll try out everyone and see which one fits. And I found Grant. Again, it was the first one in the phone book. I called the church and talked to the secretary. And she says, our pastor's from Florida. I was like, okay. So I went to church and actually met the pastor and his wife and went a couple of Sundays. And I think probably about the third Sunday I went, his wife said, now, where are you from exactly? I said, I'm from Quincy. And she said, pastor's from Lynn Haven. And so after church, get to talking, and he's actually second cousin to a good friend of mine from
Oh,
Quincy.
wow.
And so I called her and I said, well, why you didn't tell me? She's like, well, I knew they were in Texas. I just didn't know where. I was like, oh my God. And so again, great pastor, and I'm still a member of Grant and me.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I joined Austin Alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta and connected with them. And so it was through those relationships that I was able to stay
Right.
and would interact with them on the weekend. But really, during the week, it was just very challenging. And I've had other friends from FAMU that have moved here that did not acclimate well.
For
And
sure.
what I tried to tell them is you need to engage, um, find that group that fits your needs. I say, but what you have to remember is it's not going to be Tallahassee. It's not going to be Daytona. It's not going to be Orlando. It's not going to be where you're from. You have to create that. Um, that relationship. But I know many people who have come and left. And so, again, um, finding those cultural experiences that you can relate to from your hometown. It was very hard. I'm not gonna kid you, but I
Right.
did stick it out. Has it gotten better? Yes. When I first moved here, there were a couple of events, and now, well, pre-pandemic, it was like, okay, I don't have time for all these events. Now I'm connected with
Right.
them.
Right.
But again, it has grown. But I had to dig. I had to connect
Right.
with my church and my sorority. But again, I know people who just just couldn't deal with it. And actually, a friend and I were talking, and she was like, if I had not connected with this organization, they were thinking about leaving. I was like, no, don't leave. We need you. We need to hear your voice. We need to know what we can do to keep African Americans here. So,
No,
you know,
yeah, I
what,
agree for sure. I know that that's one of the things that we try to do at the African American Culture and Heritage Facility is that we understand that Black people come from all over the United States and they move to Austin usually because of a job,
mhm,
or because of college,
right,
and then they're trying to figure out what are they going to do,
yeah,
what is the next move going to be,
mhm,
and even though we know that this isn't that person's home, if
mhm,
we can provide some level of connection from a collective, it can help give them something to attach to and also something to pour into, so
exactly.
let's say if it's not, if you're not in a sorority or a fraternity or depending on what you're doing for a church or meeting that spiritual need, if you can at least have something that you can connect with culturally, it can at least try to help sustain you and try to ground you and then allow kind of the chips to fall where they may, because you are right. I mean, I'm a person that I've lived in every time zone in the US and I came back to Austin,
Mhm,
and I'm blessed to have family here, but I know that's not everyone's story.
right, right,
And I
right.
know that Austin can feel isolating
Oh,
because at
yes.
the end of the day, you're right. It's not going to be like Tallahassee. It's not going to be like Atlanta. It's not going to be
Mhm,
like DC. Just based on the sheer numbers, between
right,
the numbers being between what 12, 9 and 15%, depending upon what study you read, right?
right,
So
exactly.
just understanding those differences, being
Mhm,
able to acclimate is huge. And I think that one thing that Austin does have in comparison to some of those other cities is that I do but think that Austin has the one of the most upsides, in comparison to some of those other cities. There's
mhm,
still room to grow, there's still room to expand. And even though we complain about the congestion, it's still nowhere near on the level of an LA or a New
exactly,
York or a San
exactly.
Francisco or even in Atlanta, right?
Right,
So those are all things that we ought to take into consideration. So
right. And
I
I
thank
will
you for
say,
sharing that.
right. And I will say, in terms of culture, it has gotten, like, again, it has gotten better because
Yes.
before you would have to like search high and low to find
Hmm.
something to do. Uh, but but I'm glad even with the city and the arts and cultural artists and nonprofit organizations here are growing, expanding offerings for those from various cities. Because like, I have some people from Chicago, well, they like house music and connecting, with that.
Right. Right.
So I think we still need to, we can do better
For
because
sure.
Austin is definitely growing, but you want to definitely enhance that culture so you don't lose it, that Austin flavor. It is here, and we have to do everything we can to keep it.
And I do want to say one thing I want to give you your props on while you are on the air is that you do a great job at acknowledging the Black voice and how it can help shift and shape our programs as a department going forward. And
Mhm.
leading with that equity lens and making sure that throughout the processes of some of these programs that we have going on, that we make sure that the playing field is as even as possible, or even if we're operating on the side of equity, that we want to make sure that we're calibrating rubrics properly,
Mhm.
scoring for programs for various applications. And I can say just, you make sure that if you're not in the room, that someone can be that voice. And sometimes it has been me. So even thank you for those opportunities and making sure that, I can even articulate the needs of people of color, within some of those processes. And I think it's good to know that, or it's good for the citizens to know that that is how we're trying to move, and we're really serious about that.
Mhm.
And when you talk about connection, that's super important, is knowing that you have other people around that are working and advocating on your behalf. It makes you feel like you're not alone.
Right, right. Being that voice. And I will say, when the city council approved the equity office and they formed, we asked to be one of those pilot departments around the equity assessment tool. Because
Yes.
who are we? We're the economic development department. We're supposed to be helping citizens, neighborhood, and businesses be prosperous. Well, we need to ensure that our programs are addressing everyone's needs to the best of our ability. And so I'm proud to say that, yes, we are going to lead with racial equity across all of our programs.
Yes.
We've definitely done a tremendous job, definitely have ways to go. But I am proud to say that, we're making strides, and I'm appreciative of the Equity Office allowing us to be part of that first cohort. And just the work that we're doing in that area, I'm just super proud of. Again, long ways to go, but knowing that
Right.
we are advocating for that um, is great.
Indeed, indeed. Just to shift gears a bit, I know one thing that is important to you is self-care and self-advocacy, right? And I know that I guess after the declaration of this pandemic, we've all been pushed to a place of paying more attention to ourselves because we're not involved in that hustle and bustle in the way that we would engage with so many other people. We're just not doing that anymore. And if we are doing it, we're doing it in different ways.
Right.
So if you don't mind, please share some of the things that you do to bring balance to yourself in terms of self-care and self-advocacy.
Well, I don't do it well, but I will say this year has been just like we didn't expect a pandemic. And I tell my friends a lot that I was not one to be in the house working from
Right.
home. What I'm used to being out in the neighborhood talking to businesses, meeting and greeting,
Yes.
and then all of a sudden, no, you can't go anywhere. You gotta stay in and be careful, wear a mask, and it just wasn't me, and it definitely did something to me.
Right.
Um, and even with my son, I could see the shift and change. And then the Snowbit thing that happened, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
that then sent me over the edge. But one thing that that we started doing probably last year is having guest speakers come in each Friday to work with us. And so we had a young lady that came in that talked about centering. So doing deep breathing, going for walks. I'm part of a walking club, and I try to do 150 miles a month of walking, trying to decompress. And I see a therapist. Mental health is something that I think we all need to um, just uh, be aware of and acknowledge that that is a part of medicine that you need to pay attention to. There's nothing wrong with going to a therapist. So I do that. I cook. So when I'm really, really stressed, if you ever see me posting, you see the grill full, or I've made these homemade biscuits, I must have had a
Yeah.
bad week because I work my stress out in the kitchen a lot.
Yeah.
I love to cook. So if you ever see that, usually I probably have had a bad week. But again, I definitely try to walk. Um, as I say, cooking is a great distressor. Again, centering yourself, breathing, and just making yourself aware of knowing your body, knowing when you are, getting on that edge and saying,
Right.
hey, I feel myself going there. Let me calm myself. That's what I say, calm yourself. So, again, I try to have to do that to keep myself balanced. But of course, I have a 15-year-old that even throughout the week, I have a crazy weekend because he plays basketball, league ball. So usually we're
Right.
running basketball all weekend. But even when I come in, I have to say,
Yeah.
okay, I gotta come in, I gotta calm down, I need to relax. But some of my friends probably watching says, well, she still doesn't do a good job. But I'm
Yeah.
trying. I'm trying. I'm trying to keep the best balance that I can because even my doctor was like, you gotta do better. And I said, well, now you're a doctor and you have 3 kids. You tell me how you balance. She says, not very well. I said, okay, same here. So yeah.
Right. No, I know what you mean. I think one thing that since we've had to work from home,
Mhm.
we almost have to treat work like a person, right?
Mhm.
And what I mean
Mhm.
by that is that you have to really make time to distance yourself, right?
Yeah.
Because you're so accessible now,
Mhm.
through the
Mhm.
phone, through your laptop.
Right.
There really isn't, we can sit in here and we can answer and reply to emails all day if we
Oh yeah.
chose to do so. So making sure that we take that time for ourselves, give ourselves time to create a clean slate for ourselves is super,
Yeah.
super, super important. And I can say one thing that have always been an advocate of is, hey, if you need some time, let us know. If you want to use any city resources or anyone else that can help, let us know, and, appreciate your support in that regard as well, because a lot of people, they just think that if they're not accessible 100% of the time, that they're not doing their best job. And 9 times out of 10, it's the exact opposite.
Right. And learning to, as we talked about one day, even if I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, I need to set the email not to go out until the next day so that I'm not disturbing others. So yeah,
Yes.
we're working on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
With so much, going on in the world right now, the social climate, I know that we just heard the verdict from the George Floyd murder, and there's so many others that have gone through similar situations. How are you able to balance what's going on in the real world and still stay, in tune and locked in on our daily work life, and even family life? This is unprecedented times where we've had just a continuation of, these situations occurring. And, at the same time, we're having to work more and work differently and come up with different ways to be innovative and still come up with solutions to problems. So,
Right. Again, I'm trying my best to balance, but again, I have an African American son. Yes, I worry all the time because these are conversations, even things going on now. These are conversations I had with my father back then, things that he went through. And even my mom now, we still have those conversations like we should not be here. But again, having those conversations with my son, um, uh, stressing education, stressing him to be careful. I shouldn't have to do that, but we do. And so talking to him, talking to my friends, um, uh, being advocates when you can. That's how I balance it. But I do worry. I worry about my brother. And again, it's conversations we shouldn't be having now because these are the same conversations I had with my dad and my mom back in the day about things they went through. And now we're in 2021, we're still facing these same challenges. It is just really hard. But again, I try to get up every day and be the best advocate I can for my community in spaces where I am to try to level the playing field for my community. I will say that.
and to just add to that, well, how do you feel you are able to still stay innovative? And what I mean by being innovative is you still stay really locked into the needs of the people, even though there's a lot of things that are going on that can, be depressing, and actually a feeling of being oppressed at certain points in time. So just the creativity behind, programs like the Feed program and other things that we have going on that are really cutting edge on a national level and even really on a global level in terms of our economic development. Share how you think about, still locking in, still meeting some of those needs for the people, for the community, even though we're subjected to what's going on right now.
Right. I listen. We have great staff that are also connected to community, but I believe answers come from the ground up. So it can't always be top down. You need to listen to your small businesses, your creatives, your communities that may not have the resources that other communities have. And a lot of times they have answers. They know best what they need. And then how can we take those needs and fit them within a city policy or city government? And that is really what we do, what I do. I want to hear your concerns. I need to be connected the way you see it so that I can take your ideas and probably turn them into actionable items. But again, it's that the key is listening to your community and to come up with those again out of the box ideas. Well, let's try it. Nothing hurts but a try.
Right.
And if it doesn't work, we'll pivot. But again, recognizing food insecurity, the digital divide,
Mhm.
it is real in Austin. We a couple years ago documented we were one of the most economically segregated cities. So how do we bridge that? Again, workforce development. I come right back to it with education. And even if a 4-year degree is not for you, what trade or what skills? We discovered through the Snowbit incident, we needed plumbers. You know how much
Right.
plumbers, electrician, those trades. How can we educate? How can we empower them who may say, well, I don't want to work for someone else. Well, let me show you how you turn that into your own business, things like that. So again, listening to the people.
Most definitely. And one thing that I can say about working within economic development over the years is that no matter what division, we have programs that direct citizens directly. So
Mhm.
we're not just working with large scale enterprises or big box businesses.
Right.
We actually have a lot of programs that speak directly to individuals, and try
Mhm.
to help them become money driving entities by either what they do out of love or passion or a
Mhm.
specialized skill set that they've,
Mhm.
accrued along the way.
Mhm.
So I definitely am proud to say that as a member of the economic development staff that we
Mhm.
touch so many different parts of the economy.
Yes, we
And,
do.
and that innovation I think is important.
Mhm.
So Novi, we have a couple of questions from our audience.
Oh my.
And I wanted to ask those of you and get your responses. So we have one question that came in that says, as a Black female professional, what word or words best describes your journey and why?
Oh boy, what word describes my journey? Um, that's a good question. Um, I would say unimaginable. I could not, even in my wildest imagination, I could not have written my story any better.
Yeah.
So again, I lean back on my faith um, that he wrote this story for me. I just, it's unimaginable. Yeah, I would have never thought coming from a small town, I'd now be here, be where I am. But definitely unimaginable because he's written a story. And so that's why I have to get up every day and give it my 100% because again, I want my dash to mean something
Yeah.
and too much that is given, much is required.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
We also have another question. If you have any advice for a Black female professional, what would it be?
I would say definitely find a mentor, um, find a good coach because I have a coach and I have a mentor. Um, Step out of your box. Don't be afraid of a challenge. Take that challenge and go for it. And even if you you think you fail, look at that challenge and learn the lessons to apply it to the next one. And so that's what I would say. Step out of your comfort zone because that's what I had. That's what I did. I was just like, oh my God, moving here was definitely stepping out of my comfort zone.
Awesome. And I think, stepping out of your comfort zone, so many people think about that as far as just moving to a different place. But stepping
Mhm.
outside of your comfort zone can really come in so many different ways, So it could
Mhm.
be just being a part of a group that you wouldn't have ordinarily, selected,
Mhm.
doing different things, as far as
Mhm.
activities go that you wouldn't ordinarily do.
Right.
Austin is one of those cities that can provide you that latitude to do that, right? You have a
Mhm.
major metro city, you have access to water, you have access to, so many different things that are out there that in most other cities the size of Austin, you can't take advantage of. So I
Exactly.
totally agree with you on that a lot of people just, it's engaging the city, get
Mhm.
outside of your comfort
Get
zone
out
and do some
there.
things that you haven't done, especially the thing that makes me that trips me out about that whole thing is that sometimes people will come from another city and then after a while be upset because the very thing that attracted them to Austin, they're not even engaging in that thing. They just want to do what they were doing at home.
Right.
So, if you're going to move to a different city and there are things that you like about that place or that destination, jump in with both feet and check it out and try some different things.
Right. And don't wait for your friends to come visit and say, you didn't know you had that in your backyard. It's like, okay, yes, let's go try it then.
Right. Austin is that happens so much is that people that once you live here, people will call you or you have friends from home or even from other places. And this even happens to me from some of my friends, even from college. They'll reach out to you and say, hey, we're going to come here for this or we're going to do that. And you're like, I haven't even done that and I live here, so you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Sylnovia, I want to say thank you for this evening, for your time. It's been a blast. I've had fun. Hopefully you have too. And I think our listeners have gained a lot from this conversation. So I just want to say thank you. And also I wanted to give you an opportunity to either share any parting words or if someone would like to connect with you or any of our programs, how to go about doing that.
Sure. Again, you can reach me through the Economic Development Department, through our contact email on our website. So Austin, Texas /Economic Development Department. And again, be that change for someone. Help someone who is less fortunate than you. Those would be definitely my parting words, because we all have something to give back to someone.
Yes,
and so I would say, be that blessing. As someone texted me this morning, I need you, and I would say, okay, I got it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. We appreciate you. I think the city appreciates you even more than they did before. Hopefully people feel like they got a chance to connect with you as an individual. I know that I have. I even learned some things about you through this conversation that I didn't know. We've been knowing each other for a very long time. So I appreciate you and we'll be talking soon and enjoy the rest of your evening. And stay tuned for the Pat G coming up, okay?
I will. Thank you, TJ.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, let's go ahead and bring in our musical guest for the evening, Pat G. Pat, how you doing?
I'm good. Hold up a second.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can, let me see. I'll feel like I'm on, but I'm not on. So you can hear me, right?
Yes, you are on.
Can you see me?
Yes, we can see you. You're on.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, nothing on my side's moving. So it's all froze. So I'm gonna just, as long as you can see me moving, I'm good.
It's all good. It's all good. Well, thank you for taking the time. I just want the people to really get a chance to listen to your music. I can tell you that I got your SoundCloud link, right? I think SoundCloud or Mixcloud, one of the two. So I got your link and it had, I guess, an EP of your music. And we'll get into how people can get in touch with you. But one of the first things that I noticed as a person who grew up listening to rap and hip hop, of course, and all other genres of music, but that was, of course, the main music that I grew up on, that I want to say I love what you're doing as far as reintegrating consciousness into your music and really speaking on behalf of our community and being an advocate. And it's something that you're doing in a very innovative and creative way. And just before we even get into it, I just want to give you a word of encouragement on that before we get started.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. It really does. I appreciate that. For real.
For sure.
I take pride in that, So
Awesome. So tell Austin just a little bit about yourself, if you're from Austin, if not, where you came from and kind of your journey into falling in love with hip hop and even to the point of becoming an MC.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually from Temple, Texas. If you don't know, it's about an hour north of Austin. Born and raised there. I was there for about 23 years. I've been in Austin for over 7 years now. And so, man, I've always loved hip hop. I've always loved rap. I never wanted to rap, actually. That's something I just kind of picked up. I think it's been about 10 years now, actually. In the first 5 years, it wasn't really something I was pursuing hard as a career. But the last 5 years, I've really pursued it as a career. So yeah, that's kind of where I started at.
Awesome. And I can tell that you have a lot of musicality, in your rap, which, a lot of people that rap, it's usually more kind of the break beats or electronic. And what made you really want to go that direction with your sound? Well,
I mean, I came from I'm a musician. I'm an instrumentalist as well. So I played the cello.
Okay.
I actually played the violin whenever I was in 5th grade all the way up to the 10th grade. 10th grade, I switched to the cello, and I played the cello all the way even through college. I did a little bit in college as well. So I'm a, musician in that aspect as far as knowing how I want things to sound. I love stringed instruments.
Okay.
And so when I'm listening to beats and the sounds and stuff like that, it's like I want that live sound. I want the real music playing, not so much like the electronic stuff. So that's just kind of my thing, So yeah.
Awesome. I know that I spoke earlier to just how you've been integrating your social consciousness into your music. Where does that come from?
I mean, from what I see, I know the climate of the world and everything for the last maybe 4 or 5 years has just been really, really tense, and things have been getting worse, or it may seem like they're getting worse. Things may get better, in certain areas, but I coach athletes and stuff like that too. I have a bachelor's degree in kinesiology, and so I'm a trainer / coach. Shout out to HT, Houston Tilson University, out to the Rams. It's my alma mater, and so I noticed that I have a lot of influence on people around me, and so one of the things I wanted to do is make sure that I'm able to encourage people or even educate people through what I'm doing, whether it be coaching or music. So with things that I see, that I just want to take that and kind of incorporate it into my music. So
Yeah. We have a lot of HBCU love on the episode tonight. So between FAMU, Prairie View, and HT, we're well representing this evening. So definitely thanks for dropping that note. Tell people, I guess, who are some of the people that you're listening to now, or even in the present, like what are some of your primary musical influences, whether they're current or from the past?
I guess you can, like you said earlier, I do have that more of a conscious rap to me. And so some of my favorite artists, not in any order, Nas, Jay-Z, Lupe Fiasco. I'm a big fan of Lupe. I love Justin Bieber. I got a wide array of people. I love Linkin Park. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The Roots, and Brandy. Old school like Michael Jackson and Prince and stuff like that. I'm kind of everywhere, but I try to take a little bit from everybody that I like to listen to and incorporate it into what I'm doing now. A lot of people say I sound like Common or Mos Def or something like that too. So feed off of those guys as well.
You definitely can hear the influence in your music. Tell people how they can access your music catalog.
Well, you can go on any streaming platform, Spotify, Apple, Google Music or Google Play. I don't even know. There's so many out there now. YouTube Music, wherever it's at. Titles. Jay-Z owns Tidal or whatever. But you can go on any platform. Just type in my name, Pat G, and then type in whatever it takes, and that'll pull up my most recent album. Or you can hit my SoundCloud, and then you'll have my whole catalog there. So yeah, and you can follow me everywhere at Instagram at @IamPat_G. I
like that consolidation. So that's a great thing. That's a great tip. I love the fact that you're able to be on all your platforms, on all social platforms. I tell you, Austin community, without further ado, we're going to bring you this full set, but please tap into what Pat G is doing right now. So without further ado, we're going to bring you his full set, which is going to include the songs Fight On, Broken, Whatever It Takes, and Down.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I go by the name of Pat G. We got Chris Keys on the keys right here. We got DJ on the bass and Jay Heights on the drums right here. Shout out to these men right here. Shout out to the African American Cultural Heritage Facility for putting on this event right here. And shout out to the city of Austin. This first song right here is called Fight On. Y'all check it out. Just like that. Yeah. Pat G's in the house. Yeah, turn the track up. Yeah. Hey. Yeah, we gon' fight on. We gon' fight on. We gon' fight on. Tell them why. Tell them why, cause yeah. With our backs against the wall. We got. We gon' fight on. We gon' fight on. Yeah. Mama, I'm on the billboard. They tried to clip my wings. Yeah, I still saw. They didn't work out. Yeah, they still sore. Put your joy in the Lord. Don't let them steal yours. Chill. Even when life gives you lemons, undeserved heartbreak, bitter feelings. Every time you were pushed to your limit, God showed you how to make the most of what you were given. Yep, and now I get it. What you were teaching me, show me not what I wanted, but what I need to see. For them times I ignored you, I apologize. You did say a hard head makes you so behind. Zero compromise, always make the sacrifice for your kids, so we can live a better life. Praying for us through the night. I get my spot from you. Bring the hook in. This is what we finna do. Chill. Tell them why. Tell them why, cause. Chill. With our backs against the wall. Yeah. We got it. We gon' fight on. We gon' fight on. Go ahead, cry if you must, but you better not give up. I say that with love, it's true. I've seen tough times too. Tough times don't last. Tough people do. So put up your dukes or chuck the deuce. Fight or flight, which feel red or blue. Every life matters. Not a soul can change that. A hashtag on Twitter can't make or break that. Take that, take that. I'm on my giddy up. Make them band together. Who's coming with me? Clever and witty instead of Tom and Jerry, Bobby and Whitney. Let's fight together and unite the city. Even when they hate, we gon' show them love. They won't understand. That's how we overcome. They wanna knock us, cause they not us. Let them go get mock us. Man, I promise, God got us. God got us. Even when with our backs against the wall. We got nothing to lose. We gon' fight on. We gon' fight on. We gon' fight on. This next song right here is called Broken. It's actually one of my favorite songs. And all these songs are off my album, my latest album, whatever it takes. So make sure to check that out. It's on all streaming platforms. But it's called Broken, and it's also featuring Janice Nicole. Shout out to Janice Nicole one more time. Check it out. Yo. Yeah, how can you pour into a cup with an empty pitcher? Get the picture, I'm showing you something bigger. Don't mess with Texas, run up the litter. One man's trash is another man's treasure. I was barely smart, I had wits, grit. Grabbed life by the horns, kept losing my grip. Pieces of the puzzle I was given never fit. Confessions of an adolescent, I was just a kid. When I realized I wasn't making fit in, I could stand out just by being myself. Yep, didn't have to sell my soul. Twisting my fingers for north side, we was rocking South Pole. Tall tees, baggy jeans, wipe me down, keep the airports clean. I'm painting the scene, hope I'm making it plain. Traffic jam on the road to success, I created my own lane. But I'm chosen. Don't stress, only progress. Never do nothing less than your best. You're too blessed. Live life with no regrets. To build wealth, make more, spend less. Best, yes. Giving the game for free. Please keep this clear. I didn't come to compete. I came to dominate and thrive, not to survive. I wasn't born just to pay bills and die. Look alive, cruising down I-35 with a heavy heart. Morning like the sunrise, hadn't dawned on me yet why evil men take innocent lives, and their motive to inconclusive and clueless. Students kill students. It didn't give you the blues like St. Louis. Thinking, what can I do? How can I help? How can I help anybody? I can't help myself. I'm so. Surely there was Times I wasn't sure of me. Took time to secure my insecurities. Through trial and error, I learned that adversity makes us better. And the tougher the struggle, bigger the story. Give God the glory. Chill. All right, this next song right here is called WIT. That stands for Whatever It Takes. This song is a signature song off of my album, Whatever It Takes. This song is also produced by the one and only Chris Keys. So, let's check this out. Ride with me. This is the first one I ever recorded. People always ask me what Be Relentless means. Guess what? I'm gonna tell them. It's just different. Yo, hey, you know Chris Keys make the beat slap. Listen to it for 30 seconds, I need that. Watch me snap on another jam, like the audience at Poetry Slams. Hold it back to the chat with the white ghost. Flip my hat to the back now, strike a pose. Take a scratch, I can write to my hand cramp. To my own horn, like it's band camp. Use your wit and just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Whatever it takes, whatever it takes, whatever it takes, whatever it takes. Use your wit and just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Whatever it takes, whatever it takes, whatever it takes, whatever it takes. Hey, hey. Use your wit and just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Hey. Yeah. Turn it down, now they tuned in. I ain't Jay-Z, but I got the blueprint. DJ Khaled, no, I'm the best man, like the best friend of the groomsman. Tied by my loose ends. Turn it down, now they tuned in. Where were you when? I was freestyling in my car in Texas, 3 summers, no AC. I told y'all, Ben had the hottest bar, no sweat. Sharp my intellect, bet you wouldn't guess. The car got repossessed, made a play fraud, tried to scam me on the internet. Not 30 yet, but 30,000 in debt. Student loans won't slow me down, not an ounce. Stay positive with a negative amount in my bank account. General consensus that the time is now. And like the census, I'ma make it count. Use your wit and just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Whatever it takes, whatever it takes, whatever it takes, whatever it takes. Use your wit and just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Hey. Whatever it takes, whatever it takes, whatever it takes. Whatever it takes, whatever it takes, whatever it takes, whatever it takes. Kill them like this. That's relentless. That's relentless. That's relentless. That's relentless. Yeah. When you don't get the job, just do it. When they don't show you on the blog, just do it. When your cup overflow, just do it. When the money's running low, just do it. When you're feeling all alone, do it. They try to get you out your zone, just do it. Taking losses with your team, do it. Even when they don't believe, hey. Whatever it takes, whatever it takes, whatever it takes, whatever it takes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Use your wit and just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Whatever it takes, whatever it takes, whatever it takes, whatever it takes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Use your wit and just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Hey. Whatever it takes, whatever it takes, whatever it takes, whatever it takes. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Hey. Whatever it takes, whatever it takes, whatever it takes, whatever it takes. Chill. Just like that. All right. Y'all check this out. I got one more little small verse for y'all right here. It was requested by Key, so I'm gonna do it for her. This is actually one of my new singles called Down, featuring the Wild Prophets. So I'm gonna put my verse for you and check it out. It's another first right here. So this is the first time we ever performed it. So check it out. Just like that. It's called Down. Yeah. It's just different. Yeah. They can't stop us. Unblock my chakras, knocked up business synopsis. Been having dreams of fishes. This delivery is expected, but it's superstitious. I'm in the gut so much, I need superstitious. Got the catfish, all I see is cake by the ocean. I used to see Section 8 housing up and down the street. Texas Warren round up, 4 ounce of weed, fights every other week. Skin dark in the summer sun, Texas heat, hobo jungle. Muddy shoes from the creek. The train was close. I could hear the horn when I sleep. My first job was Curly's Market. It was on the east. $50 a week. Don't ever say talk cheap. If you see your partner's mama, we was taught to speak. Respect will never be obsolete. I'm so certified. I rep the north side till I die. Lord, down on my knees. You don't really want it with us. Yeah, you don't really want it with us. You don't really want it with us. Yeah, you don't. Once again, I go by the name of Pat G. Got Chris Keys on the keys. We got DJ on the bass. Jay Heights on the drums. Just like that. I can follow me everywhere at I am Pat G. Just like that.
All right. Now that was a performance. That was a performance. So thank you, Pat, for being a part of our podcast this evening. That's the way to go out right there. You know, so love the energy, love the inspiration. Once again, let people know where they can find your music.
You can find me everywhere, any streaming platform. Just type in Pat G, type in whatever it takes, and it'll pull up my music. You can follow me on all social media platforms at I am Pat_G, and make sure y'all like my Facebook page, Pat G. Be relentless. We don't just talk, live it. Just
Yes,
like
yes. Thank you. Thank your band as well. So, you know, pass along our thanks
Oh
to
yeah,
them.
man.
So thank you. And I appreciate you, you know, shouting them out on the beginning and at the end so everybody can know how to get in touch with them as well. Also, I want to thank our esteemed guest, Sylnovia Holt-Raab. Thank you for hanging on. And I just want to send out a note of encouragement to everyone watching this week. Thank you for tapping in, and we are looking forward to seeing you next month. Ready? Good night.
Yeah. Peace.